Hello, everybody. We're back. It's Kieran and I.
Hello.
We have spent the last 3 months rereading the His Dark Materials trilogy in preparation for the publication of Belle Sauvage, The Book of Dust, Volume 1 from Philip Pullman. It's been a pretty fantastic few months, hasn't it?
It's
Delving
been
back in.
amazing. Yeah.
I was a complete newbie. Kieran is a massive fan, so we have had lots of fun talking and discussing the 3 books. But it's all been leading up to the publication of the new book, and hopefully this video will be going out at midnight on Wednesday the 18th of October, which is when the doors of Waterstone's shops all over the country will be opening so that people can come in and get their copy of the new book. We, however, have managed to get review copies. We got early proof, special look. They're numbered on all 3 sides so that you can't sort of stick them on eBay. Not that we would. So we had to sign special non-disclosure agreements. It was all very secretive and exciting. And we got to read it in preparation for this video. And so we thought we would share with you our thoughts in the first review of La Belle Sauvage in a totally non-spoilery way. We're not going to spoil anything. This is just here for you to know what we thought of the book. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where do we start?
I suppose we start. I suppose the setting
Yes.
would be a good way to start. So, seeing as we're recording this in Oxford, it's of course very very helpful to kind of actually be in the locale. And the action actually starts in the Trout pub, which I don't think is a spoiler because in the little pamphlets that Waterstone's got, it does say it's in the Trout, which is a pub that you can go and visit that is by a ruined abbey, in Portmeadow. And yeah, you start with this boy called Malcolm, and his parents own the pub and he works there, and he finds himself sort of thrust into the centre of this intrigue, I suppose we'll call it, to
Yes.
be euphemistic.
Intrigue is good.
Yeah.
Chin-stroking intrigue.
And again, not a massive spoiler because it comes very nearly at the beginning of the book. He discovers that the nuns at the abbey across the road are looking after a baby called Lyra.
Bet you can't guess who that is. I found as a reader, and perhaps it's because I have just read all 3 books sort of back to back, but I had this feeling that when starting this new one of immediate comfort of going, oh, that feels very familiar. I'm back in Oxford, and I think Pullman's writing style just immediately in control of its story and its setting and the characters, and so yeah, I was just really, it was like slipping into something comfortable.
Definitely. It quickly gets uncomfortable.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, it is nice, because obviously in the Northern Lights, the first time you read it, there is that slight jar of, oh, what are demons? What's all this? But we're, assuming that you've read those books before you come to this equal, it is so wonderful to be back in this world again. Like literally in the first few pages, I shed my first tears because I was just so happy. So happy that this was happening, that I was actually holding this book in my hands and that I was going to discover more about people I didn't even know I was going to care about yet. Immediately loved Malcolm.
Yes.
I think he's such a brilliant, an original, unique character. He's sort of very interested in woodworking and his canoe, and I don't know many 11-year-olds who are sort of that interested in those kind of things, and he's incredibly caring.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to sort of, Pullman seems to do these boys very well, like Will in the trilogy, these very caring, interesting boys. I think it's really nice representation.
Absolutely, and I think the thing with meeting Lyra in the first book, where you have this she's got a very strong character, and she's fiercely independent because of the life that she's had up until that point. And Malcolm is not the same. He has obviously been cared for by his family, so he has this lovely, warm, caring streak, as you say, and he's independent in as much as he can go on his little canoe on his own, and he knows how to look after himself, but he's not sort of stridently on his own. He is very much surrounded by the local community and has this great relationship with one of the nuns at the nunnery, which is really well depicted.
Yeah, that's lovely.
But that thing, he has a real interest in this baby that they're looking after, and obviously that sort of bond is an important part of what happens later.
Yeah,
but
he's so tender with her. It's really, really lovely. And as you say, like, I suppose Lyra in some ways is in the first 3 books, or the original books, is quite overtly heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she lies but she kind of charges into situations, she's very brave. And Malcolm is more quiet, more of a quiet hero. He's like quietly brave, he's quietly strong. And he very much acts how an 11-year-old would act. And something that Pullman does so well and understands so well is that what all children want is to grow up as fast as possible, and that means that sometimes they take on too much responsibility and put themselves in these difficult situations. He's not interested in kind of keeping children behind glass and keeping them young and innocent. He's interested in actually what children care about, which is, you know, I'm grown up now, I'm 11 years old, like I can go and do all these mad, dangerous, ill-advised things. Basically,
it does get dangerous, doesn't it? And I would have to say that
Very
whilst
quickly.
it starts off quite quietly, the sort of the peril level goes up considerably and stays up there for a long part of the book. So I think it's quite a thrilling read. But I would say that with the first 3 books, which are very as you said, it's sort of immediately you're in a different world. There's lots of elements of fantasy and magic. Whereas I felt this book was far more earthbound. It was far more sort of normal, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
But you know, just sort of it felt like you were set in a normal Oxford, and that the things that Malcolm is dealing with are very real. I mean, we can say, I think, maybe one part of the plot, because you can see it on the cover. You've seen a lot of water on the cover of that book. That there is a deluge, there is a flood,
Yes.
and that is one of the things that he has to deal with. Of course, he has his canoe, La Belle Sauvage, which is where the book gets its title from. And I did wonder when I saw that that's what the title was. I was thinking, why is the boat important? Before we got to read the book, you will discover why it is important.
Reading that, I have to say, reading this book as an Oxford resident whose house is on a floodplain was very distressing, like incredibly distressing, and sort of all the places that are discussed in the book, Jericho and things, and you know, those places do get flooded. And in 2014 my house was flooded. That was before I lived here, and so it was quite a distressing read. Like I could really feel the water rising, and kind of the awful fact of that would be absolutely terrifying.
If you are living on a floodplain or indeed anywhere near any rivers, please make sure your insurance is up to date before reading this book. Otherwise,
Get sandbags.
you too may well be worried about what's happening. We could maybe mention one other character who's going to be important, because I believe Pullman has mentioned that character himself. Take it away, Kiran.
So Hanna Ralph is a scientist who is working on studying the althiometer. She's part of a society that works on sort of studying the althiometers, and Pullman's discussed the character in interviews because Hanna Ralph is the name of, I think, a librarian or a teacher who really encouraged his reading, and so he wanted to kind of immortalise her in this lovely way. And she is another brilliant character. I think we can draw strong parallels with Mary Malone. I think that's quite a fair comparison. And she and Malcolm have this wonderful relationship. They're kind of thrown together. Malcolm's very ingenious in the ways that they find each other and then continue to meet. But their relationship is so lovely because it starts off about one thing. There's something that throws them together, but then they develop something entirely different from that. So she talks to him about dust, she talks to him about the way the world works, and just really starts to open his mind, while at the same time at school their minds are being narrowed. There's a kind of this awful, almost like Gestapo-ish force at work in the school, where the children are being encouraged to tell on each other, and you can feel like the kind of constriction of the religion at the same time that Malcolm is kind of being awakened to all this scientific possibility. And that's really nice to watch, because children are sponges and they just learn like nothing else. And when they meet someone who inspires them, they just learn like nothing else. And I think Pullman captures that pupil-teacher relationship really beautifully.
They have a great relationship, and the word that you used earlier, which was intrigue, I think is really important as well, because if there's a feel to this book, it is very much almost like a sort of spy thriller, because it's about sort of secret messages and codes and ciphers and ways of communicating in secret. And as you said there, that sort of slightly Gestapo thing that's happening in the school, it has that sort of feeling about it. I suppose this summer we've also had the publication of the new book from John le Carré. So it's obviously the theme of the year is that, you know, this idea of secret communication is really crucial.
And we're not going to spoiler too much, but there is a truly despicable character. Like, genuinely, I was so distressed reading. There are villains all over the place, because of course it's not simple, but there is one particular antagonist who is just inhumane. like he's inhumane even in the context of this strange world. He beats his demon, which I think we can say. And it is truly horrifying to witness that self-hatred, but because it's enacted on an animal, it's even more horrifying.
Yeah.
That literally, I was reading that disgusted. I felt sick, because you know what a demon is in this world. It's your soul, and that was just, that kind of self-flagellation was awful to witness.
Yeah.
Really distressed me.
So yeah, beware.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Slight trigger warnings. He's a really nasty character.
Really
I was
nasty.
quite upset by him.
Yeah. Now, we have to be careful, of course, about saying any more, because we don't want to spoil it, but I think we've said enough to give you an idea of a sort of flavour of the book. We also have had a thing that will have happened by the time this video goes out, which hasn't happened yet. We are 2 days away from this happening, but we are going to be at an amazing event which is happening to help launch the book. It's happening at the Bodleian Library in Oxford, but it's being made over to turn into Jordan College for the evening. And Kira and I are going to sort of host it. We're going to we're going to be there sort of introducing. Philip Pullman will be there reading from the book. Anna Maxwell Martin, who played Lyra at the National Theatre, will be there to speak to him, to do a reading. It's going to be an incredibly exciting event, and we are hoping that there will be some video of that event that we can share with you. So hopefully at some point links will have appeared above our heads somewhere. If not, then just sort of keep an eye on the Waterstones YouTube channel and Facebook page, because we will be sharing video when we have it. But we are, I think it's fair to say, we're quite excited.
It's made having to hang out with you all worth it. Like, it's been... No, it's honestly beyond my wildest dreams. And the last time I was in the Bodleian, I was getting married, and I'm genuinely more excited about Wednesday.
This could be really awkward when Kieran's husband watches this, but no, it's going to be very, very exciting. It should be a fantastic event, but I think a great way to celebrate what makes Pullman's book so exciting, which is that real sense of place,
Yes.
and Oxford in particular.
And I actually went and finished the Book of Dust on Will and Lyra's bench, because I am so sentimental.
Such a geek.
So it's
I
a
love
real
it.
luxury to be living in Oxford at a time like this.
So we are going to finish up here. We're going to go and get ourselves suited and booted for Wednesday night and make sure that we don't make a mess of it. But we hope that you've enjoyed these videos. If you're coming across this one first, then there'll be links to the previous 3 videos. There's also 3 discussion videos with Kieran talking to Martha Greengrass about some of the themes of the first 3 books. But most importantly, we hope that you go out, buy Belle Sauvage, read it, enjoy it, and come back here and tell us what you thought about it at some point in the future.
Yeah.
That is all for now. Take care.